Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first story, written by user Nihilistic Phoenix, is titled, "The Years-Long Battle to Get a Landlord's Number." I'm the daughter of whom I think we should call Helicopter Gotho. Quick background. In my early 20s, I left my parents' home because Helicopter Gotho is a narcissistic mom, and her and enabler dad constantly made me the scapegoat of the house. My husband took me to live with him at his family house, where he lived alone. His mother was gone for more than 20 years, and things were better for a couple of years. Then his piece of crap dad, he deserves his own thread, kicked us out, having gotten his own ass kicked out by his current partner. We had nowhere to go, and being in decent terms with Helicopter Gotho, she offered us a nice solution. Gotho was renting the house besides hers as a place to teach her dance classes. So we could split the rent and use part of the bedrooms to live, and she would come just some hours a week when having classes. It was a decent arrangement in the beginning, but obviously we were growing tired of not having the house for ourselves. We paid the other bills too. Then she stopped teaching and we began paying the whole rent. And here's where things get crapty. The landlord does not live in the same city, and seemingly he had a verbal agreement with Gotho about the rent. We did not worry at first. In fact, we were grateful for paying a considerably cheaper price than the rest of local houses. But Gotho kind of put herself in the landlady's position. Instead of giving us landlord's account, she received the cash and enabler dad would make the deposit. Being the narcissistic she is, of course, she attributed herself greater importance than us, the actual renters and payers. To make things worse, shenanigans ensued, demanding us to fix X or Y issue of the house that was not in great condition, but denying us any way to get the expenses deducted from the rent. The rare occasions the landlord came to visit, both husband and I were at our jobs, so she granted him access with her own set of keys. Oh, he was shocked at the mess you've had in the house, and I had to explain. Another time the place was robbed, being Gotho in her house and enabler grandma living in the other one. Both heard weird noises. Gotho dogs barked, and saw Jim back outside. None of them bothered to do anything. Short story, we did not lose much, but it still sucked. Also, I called the cops, and Gotho was so hell-bent on speaking to them instead of us. I went nuts and told her off. Cops found nothing regardless of one of the locks being forced. No idea if landlord got a word of it. So we got a dog and reinforced house security. Gotho gave us crap nonstop about the pup, that it was noisy, that we shouldn't have a pet in a rented house, that it was destroying the yard. And then, while husband and I were 5 minutes away getting groceries, she and enabler dad got into the house. I found them in the living room, with the pup in their arms. Gotho immediately begins complaining about the pup peeing on the floor. It was a baby yet, and kept giving us crap. I lost it and told them they had no right to invade my house, and that we were the payers and would do as we decide. But I made the deal. Also, enabler dad just stood there nodding in approval to Gotho's words. He even tried to get some support from my husband, telling him, "You know I'm going to side with my wife." We had none of it, so Gotho turned on the waterworks and finally left. She later went on how much love our dog gave her, and that was the reason she gave us a pass. Still kept complaining about our unkempt garden, or the dog fur, or the dog digging, whatever. We did fix most of the peak holes the dog did, but quit paying attention, as it was obviously mean for her to meddle in our lives. But we did change the locks, much to her dismay. Years pass, and we still did not meet the landlord. When rent was to be adjusted, Gotho would make enabler dad to text me that we had to talk, and then we would be informed of the changes. Gotho would complain of our bad faces, asking why if they were only trying to be helpful. WTF helpful is allowing us to contact the landlord personally. She even said that she'd lost his number. Enabler dad wouldn't give his bank account details either. Now to this year. More, this past week. Sunday morning, landlord came briefly to inform his plans on raising the rent by a considerable amount of selling. When did we know? Monday afternoon via neighbor dad's text telling me and husband to talk with them. Mind you, we were at home, but they wouldn't call us not to bother you too early. Rage ensued from me. I wrote Gotho, who first acted clueless, and then went, the landlord came yesterday. Flaming angry texts from me, demanding to know when the guy calls, as it is our ducking right since ever. Gotho went full mental gymnastics to paint herself as the heroine, saying that the landlord wanted to raise the rent earlier instead of next year, but she convinced him not to by letting him know that our baby would be born by November. I still called her out on meddling in things that were never her decision. So manipulation starts in typical N fashion. Our mistake was trying to be helpful, regardless of you and your husband's ungratefulness. I know you bear years-long resentment against us. Don't try to manipulate me. We're discussing specific matters. She acted clueless, then gaslighting, then emojis, then trying to infantilize me. I stood my ground, regardless I wanted to jump the fence and smack her face for once. She even had the nerve to tell me I was creating a storm in a glass of water and to calm down because it's better for my pregnancy. I'm telling you this because of experience. When she and enabler dad aren't into present shower mode, they're rubbing past favors in my face or giving me crap and causing stress. So, WTF. I still stuck to my idea and plan. I said, I'm not discussing this with you anymore unless it's about the info I requested and have the right to get. And it's over. 1 hour later she texted me the landlord's number. Husband and I for sure will let him know that this charming woman is the reason for years of almost non-existent communication, if only to set things straight. The next story is an update, and it is titled, Update the Years-Long Battle to Get a Landlord's Number. Husband called the landlord. Yep, helicopter Gotho did not give us a fake number, so I won't have to fling dog crap into her yard. Now on to the landlord situation. It was a brief conversation, but helicopter Gotho had been asking us for an amount of money that was about $2 less. So that's why she complained about having to put her and Dad's money to make up, instead of telling us the exact sum. For some things, landlord said, I have the impression that helicopter Gotho put on a facade of still using the house somehow and paying a part of the rent, both false. Helicopter Gotho also had been telling him that we were in process of getting a credit to buy this house. Nope. Even with the best of intentions, you can't set such expectations, and had us involved without our knowledge. She had been all these years acting as the rent receiver, while denying us any way of contacting the landlord, and made it seem as if he would never call before visiting, and coming a couple of times a year. Well, he actually is in town monthly. So, husband and landlord agreed to a meeting this month. We got the bank info to make the payments ourselves, and they will discuss a proper contract then. Can't wait to hear what bullcrap Gotho has been feeding him up. Oh, and husband stumbled upon Gotho on his way home. Quite disgusting, but unavoidable given we're neighbors. She actually crossed to the side of the street he was walking on. Too bad she got ignored. Must be sulking so bad. Now I'm just waiting for enabler dad's text messages. But it's over. She's finally out of the picture, and there's nothing she can do. The next story is an update, and it is titled, Helicopter Gotho, Tales of Craziness. After the landlord duck-up, Helicopter Gotho and I have not exchanged a single word. I'd be quite happy if it weren't for enabler dad love bombing me with texts and calls that I obviously ignore. I would feel slightly bad, but then I remembered he's been her pawn, so no, not taking the bait. To keep my sanity, I'll share some Gotho stories in case I forget that she's not good to be around. Helicopter Gotho and the stolen singing career. She attended a quite prestigious female-only high school. It is a free national school with high standards, and important people have graduated from there. Gotho was a complete slacker, though. One of the girls in her class went overseas and is a widely recognized classical singer. According to Gotho, both she and this girl were selected for a casting. But as Gotho's father sucks, she did not have support and didn't attend. So that was the end of it. Nope. When I was in high school, I was part of the school choir. Of course, Gotho insisted I had a good voice because of her. When I performed a solo number, she went against my wishes and showed the damn recording to absolutely everyone. Proud mom? Nah. It was such a great way to relive her past. Also, it embarrassed me to tears. I was bullied since I was 7 years by teachers and schoolmates, partly because I was a Hermione Granger, partly because I was super talkative and was cursed with a plain bratty voice. I still can't stand listening to myself in any recording because I sound like a 12-year-old. But no begging made her stop. Same happened when I switched to piano. Narc supply was more important than my opinion. Gotho, Our Lady of Tolerance. Gotho comes from a typical laid-back Catholic family, which is common in our country. It means they don't go to church unless it's a funeral, but still pray, and have mostly conservative viewpoints. Sadly, that includes homophobia for most of them. Nowadays, she indulges in some weird New Age potpourri, but still. When growing up, Gotho managed to spew a bunch of wonderful tolerant gems that I had to unlearn. I was lucky to see the BS before graduating high school, but obviously it did affect me. According to her, gay love is carnal only. Bisexuals need to choose and admit they're just gay. Trannies are disgusting, unlike normal gays. I'm not intolerant, I just want them to do their business in private. Having a gay male best friend helped me forget that crap and becoming less judgy. Gotho would allow him to visit, but was afraid of his ways affecting my younger sibling. Jokes on her. Her celebrity crush came out years ago and is super gay. My sibling, K2. And when she muttered gloomily that she still had hope, got offended when the answer was how stupid. But now, oh, she's so supportive. She even finds so cool the couple of girls she knows is formed with another girl. Of course, because both are in the traditional feminine side. Had they been butch lesbians, I doubt it. Oh, and my sibling has never had a known partner. I wonder why. Gotho and the eternal youth. Her side of the family ages very well. She was blessed with a beautiful oval face, wavy hair, and big eyes. She is completely obsessed with people telling her she looks young. My whole life she's taken pride in being asked if she has any children, and surprising others when instead of toddlers she tells she has offspring older than 20. But come on. A time ago she told me the 1,000th variation of this. She's around her 50s. Stop pretending you're 30. Dress what you want, but stop getting impressed when people call you ma'am instead of girl. Well, she also says she once got mistaken for one of our national beauty queens, and last week DH saw her with a full black outfit and a choker. Imitating me, she pretends to dress hippie chic since forever. Gotho, exotic princess of a lost royal family. My family tree is quite short. From Gotho's side, her mother's side G-Dad was given in adoption by his father, and the last name changed. Rumors of infidelity on part of her father's side grandmother. So, in a lot of ways, there is no ancestry to track. Gotho loads having a particular straight nose and skin type associated to Mideast and being asked what her ancestry is. It doesn't help that after I attended classes of one kind of meat ant, she had to go too, and then stayed. She is still in the scene now as a teacher. Oh, and for some reason she, Enabler dad and family, think they are too good for this part of the city. Instead of being grateful that their house was a gift, they complain about the people. Our country is not divided by race because almost everyone is mixed, but by income. There are still some physical traits associated to each income class. More Caucasian/European for richer folks, darker-skinned natives for lower income. Gotho prides herself in looking closer to high-income stereotype and does most of her business in those parts of the city. To her horror, when I brought my now husband, a handsome guy with darker skin, not black, He's tanned to a medium brown due to preferring being outdoors. From a lower-class family who lived in a neighborhood that can be compared to Ghetto/Favela, and who had a funny country accent that his military times left. I mention this because it was exactly the worst thing for Gotho, who expected me to dump in my prestigious college for a high-class guy of her liking. She also despised his 12-hour job and his studies in a regular institute. DH is the best I've ever had happen in my life. He taught me everything and saved me from such madness. If it weren't for him, I'd probably off myself years ago. He works hard, and every year he's better, always accomplished everything on his own. But of course, Gotho pretends it's a privilege not to treat him like crap. She could go eat a turd or two. She also pretends, and her family side, that she has psychic powers such as premonitory dreams and immediately knowing what person's intentions are by merely getting introduced to them, to feel on herself my illness symptoms and cramps, and knowing that I was pregnant beforehand. And to have some healing powers too, such as the time I luxated my elbow and she put it back by intuition massage. Never took me to a doctor, but of course it's mommy magic. Glad that I stopped believing that nonsense. That's it for today. Sorry it was that long. At least I feel better, and also reading so many stupid things made me laugh. Even my therapist made this too much face when I told him these stories. Feel free to wish she eats a turd too. We know she deserves it. The next story is an update, and it is titled, We Met the Landlord. So finally, after 6 years of living here and being denied any means to contact him by helicopter Gotho, landlord called us early and visited. Luckily, we had been cleaning. Landlord is the most chill man, super nice and respectful. He's had a record of ultra crapty renters, including one case of needing law enforcement to evict someone, a family who destroyed everything, and whose son is wanted all over the country for massive fraud charges. We still receive lots of mail addressed to many different people. Probably that's why he has some endearment with Gotho, the nice neighbor who rented and did not stir trouble. Damn Gotho has had a ducking sort of renting contract with him through these years. Thing that she always denied and kept us in the dark about. That contract expires next month, and landlord and husband agreed the terms for the next one. Nah, there's no way he would evict us, and Gotho had informed him that it was us who paid rent, so there's no place for weird lawsuits or hassle. We'll pay more, but we'll be at least safe for 1 year while we decide to buy or move somewhere else. We also made him aware of the fact that Gotho denied us any means to contact him, and also failed to inform us in timely manner of his visits. Landlord then told us about a beautiful gem from his past time around. He knows that Gotho is a bit witchy, and here's an endearing term for someone who is new age-wise, not demeaning. So was not impressed when that day she said, "Well, I knew you were going to come. I just had a dream about it last night." Poor husband barely managed to keep a straight face. So what tonight? I dreamed of fighting with Dad and woke up to landlord's call on the phone. Of course, Gotho has used her charm to appear as the nice neighbor to the landlord, but now we're in good terms with him and her reign seems to have taken a big hit. Landlord then left her house to, I guess, discuss the end of their contract, while husband and I talked about the aftermath and plans. I hope helicopter Gotho and enabler Dad are feeling bitter now. They brought this on themselves. Surely they still expect to be our child, due next month. No ducking way. Maybe they showered me with gifts and attention before this final duck-up, but no rational parents would put their daughter through such dangerous entanglement and purposely hide information as a means of control. I also learned that my dad not only had the intention, but did check a bank credit to buy this house. In older times, we would have accepted such offer. Now, we know better not to take anything from people who make you unasked favors for things you did not need help, and then rub them on your face when they don't like your way of doing things. I'm still a bit afraid of helicopter Gotho or enabler Dad trying to give us crap. Having them and a bunch of flying monkeys as direct neighbors is sort of frightening. But my husband has a steel spine and doesn't give a duck. I will take no crap from anyone, much less now that my child is so close to be born. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the Just No Mother-in-Law stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and write a comment. I really appreciate your support. It helps my channel so much. Thank you.